And welcome. How are you doing? How am I doing? How are we doing? Welcome to the human experience. I am your host, True Him. And we would like to welcome you to this week's human experience. And for those of you who are new to the experience and what it's all about, let me explain a little bit. So, the human experience is where an individual is asked 7 questions that allows themselves to compassionately express themselves so that you, the viewer, and the audience, and the listening public can experience the compassion that resides in said individual. And I kind of like brought this human experience into fruition because I noticed that within the world, you know, there's this idea that, in order for a person to feel like they've been heard or listened to, they have to have some type of notoriety in the world, right? And that was the idea of how celebrity culture has been built and forming authorities and saying that these are the only opinions that count, when we know that that's not the truth. That everyone's opinion and voice should be heard and resonated with. And so that's why I created the human experience. So that way we can have the opportunity to have individuals, just regular individuals, you and I, and the celebrities alike. But putting a equal platform for everyone's voice to be heard, because that's what I feel needs to happen a little bit more within the context of this world, so that we can all evolve together. And so this particular week, I have the great fortune of having an individual who I have actually, wow, I have known Sam Nardella for about 5 to 6 years now. I met Sam when he was still a tender bud in USC. Actually, he was in one of his finishing years at USC, and we happened to meet in a forum called Soka Gakkai International. During a big youth festival where we brought out 3,000 youth from all over the west coast of California, and I think that was literally it. Yeah, we met at this wonderful event, and Sam, being the musician and engineer and intellectual that he is, through the years I've gotten to know him as a very good person who is striving to share his gifts with the world. And so I would like to welcome Sam Nardella to the human experience. Sam, tell the people who you are, let them know who you are, and introduce yourself to the world, my guy.
Thanks, Himio, for that beautiful introduction. My name's Sam. I am 28 years old. I'm from Lexington, Massachusetts, which is a suburb of Boston. I moved out here 10 years ago to go to school as an engineer. And since when I graduated in 2010, it's been 6 years. And through that, I've done a 180-degree career shift from computer programming to writing songs. And hopefully that, carries me. So
So you lived a typical college experience. You go to school for one thing, and then in the real world you wind up doing something else.
right, because I think you get into school and there's a bunch of paths, very, very straight up paths, and then what happens is you get in the real world and you realize it's really an open canvas. And there is no path. I mean, you can do the corporate thing, but I don't know. That's not my style. So
That's not your style. So you choose to create a path of your own and forge ahead.
Right, which comes with the negatives and the positives, right?
Yeah. In our world, I guess we call that what? Human revolution. How about you explain to the world what human revolution is, Sam?
I'll give it my best shot. I can't guarantee it's going to encompass. Human revolution, I believe, is a inner transformation that really, in the same way that, a country, when things are really messed up in a country, that the people rise up and really change things, hopefully for the better. It doesn't always happen, but it's really an inner battle where you're trying to overthrow the negative functions and replace them with the more value creating positive functions. That could be anything as small as getting in the habit of keeping your apartment clean, going becoming someone who's really unorganized, someone who's organized. And then it can be as big as, for me, getting a career in engineering, realizing that's not what I'm here for, and turning that into a career in music. So big and small, but the idea, I think, is the same of really fighting against your inner negativity and replacing that with strength.
So fighting against your inner negativity and replacing that with strength and positivity. That's awesome. And that's actually a great segue into the first question, the first real question in the human experience. And this juicy pregunta es, which one do you trust more, Sam? Your brain or your heart?
Definitely my heart. There's no question about that. Because the brain, at this point in my life, especially coming from a family of, I would say, two of my brothers are accountants. My dad's an accountant. My other brother's a business guy. It would make sense for me to get a career. It's something that's lucrative. The brain would say that, especially music now, people don't buy music. It's really tough to monetize. It's pretty dumb to get into music. But there's something deeper, that my heart is telling me. That same mindset of, if I were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, would I look at this day, as something that was what I wanted to live out? And that's the question I think aligns with that is, am I doing what I really should be doing? My heart is aligned with, even though, I think we've talked before, I work, these overnight shifts where it's, throwing my body out of whack, my immune system's getting hit. And I know, I have a degree in engineering. I could completely, I could get a job as a programmer. Now the brain could do that, but my heart knows that would be wasting my life, and it wouldn't be, lining up my life's purpose for what, I guess the universe put me here for. So I definitely am a heart guy.
All right. Okay. So you being a heart guy, that kind of moves right into actually the second question, which is it better to have beauty or be beautiful? Sam, take it away.
Okay. I think it's better to be beautiful, because I think that's kind of a standpoint from the internal out, whereas having beauty is more how people see you. And I think in the end, it's really about, how you go internal to external. Because if you kind of be beautiful, then you got to worry about, I guess, what other people think of you. So
Wait, you mean if you have beauty, based upon the definition you had just explained about having and being?
Yeah, having, it seems, I don't know, the wording for me seems more like having it is something where it's not coming from within. It's kind of just you're born with it, and whatever people tell you, this, that. But being beautiful is more of a state of life internally, coming from within. So it's really something that, regardless of how you look or what people say you, whatever this, that you are beautiful, and it doesn't matter what other people say. That's kind of how I interpret, I guess, the wording of that. I don't know if that was exactly how you wanted that one answered.
Well, actually, at the end of the day, it's not about how I wanted it answered. It's about how you answered, because it's you who are compassionately expressing yourself, sir.
Yeah. So I think, because when it comes down to it, I think especially as you get, into your later years, you realize that, you're not as much, you're more on your own. And it's really important of how you view yourself because you spend a lot of time with yourself. And if, you come from a point where you know that you're beautiful, and you're doing the right thing, that's really important. That's really important.
Mm. Yeah, I agree because when you're being something, that's an action word, right? That means that you're actively um doing, and for the lack of word, being that what you say you are, right? When you're in that motion. And a lot of people in this world, they say they're being something, but then are their actions reflecting that which they say they are being? And when you're having something, which is you're talking about a potentiality, and potential isn't real, and being something, that's what makes it real, because then that's kinetic, and that's in action and in motion. And the reality of things is motion. That's what makes things real, that
Mm-hmm.
energy being alive, going from inconspicuous to conspicuous. And so, with that being said, Sam, um when was the last time you cried, sir?
Actually, I don't know what you define by crying. Do you mean like full fledged? Do you mean watering up? I mean, what's the threshold?
Well, the threshold is as much as you want to compassionately express, sir. Going back
Well,
to that, so
I was,
it could,
because I worked actually this morning. I work this shift, and usually when I go to these shifts, I work overnight shifts at a teen rehab center, and usually, it's weird because you're working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and I don't know, life can get a little weird when you're living on the other side of the clock because you're kind of by yourself and all those things. And I wasn't really that productive with my time. I was kind of spacing out and whatever. And I kind of just got into this low life state coming out of that shift this morning, and I had to the traffic was really bad. I was getting sleepy driving back, so I had to pull over in Santa Monica and just sleep in my car, or whatever. And then I was driving back at noon, when the traffic had died off, and I was listening to a Jackson Brown song. It's called "The Pretender." He
mm,
basically sings this song about, as far as I interpret it, who knows what it's actually about, but about this character who just, had these great ideals, and he had these great ambition and potential, but
mm,
it never happens, and he's called the Pretender. And I was just feeling that so much, and then it went into this next song called "Running on Empty," just kind of
mm,
this song about just journeying and not really knowing how the road you're on has turned into what it is. It's been so many years, you don't even know how you got to where you're at. It's just the way he sings and his lyrics and the sounds got me into a very, you know it was really touching my soul in that sense. It get a little eye watery, and definitely the chills were, it was hot out, but I was got the
mm.
chills. So in that sense, I think I could say this morning through that, and that doesn't happen every day. That was just, it's just funny you're asking this now, but it was just when you're in a tough space, it's amazing how a piece of art can resonate with you. And even though it doesn't make you feel better per se, it resonates, and it
Mm.
can just give you a sense of, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the feeling is, but it really, it's a resonation for sure. So.
Well, it sounds like that there was something in that art that, as you said, yes, it did resonate with you, but it resonated for very specific reasons based upon the experience that you're having in life when that particular piece of art, in this case, those songs, it sounded like that was almost like a soundtrack to your life at that moment. It was like when you were saying that music was speaking to you, and there was something that was in those songs, especially in the way you presented it just now, in the back to back of that song, of those two songs, that kind of resonated and met at a specific space and place, and how you were feeling about yourself in relation to the words in those songs. And that could
Mhm.
be, positive, negative, whatever, but it was in the space of you feeling what you were thinking. It was actually almost like the words in those songs were um were connecting to the emotions of what you were thinking about yourself at that moment. And so that's where the connection of the words and the music and what it was that you were thinking, they met in that space to create the emotions that were able to that you expressed in that time. And then what you do with it afterwards um is the magic of that, right?
Mhm.
And how you continue to let that or how you let the actions of what those feelings and those emotions were when you got to cry. I guess that would be a good follow-up question. So after let those emotions out, how did you feel?
Definitely felt better. Um, you know, definitely felt some validation. At
Mm,
the same time, though, what I get caught up in is which is a trap, is comparing yourself. So what happens is I'll compare myself to this artist who's written these words, and then I'll get in this whole comparison thing. Um, with Jackson Brown is one of best ever.
mm,
So that can trip me up a little bit being an artist when you compare yourself. But besides that, in terms of the actual song itself, um, it was just great to know that that art has the power to do that. So
mhm,
I don't know if that. Yeah. So I think that does bring up another point, is that comparing yourself is not a good path to go.
yeah. Well, I guess, and to add on to that, comparing yourself in a way that makes you feel lesser than or greater than, depending on the case, that's when the comparison is used in your detriment, as opposed to if you're comparing yourself to another individual to evaluate where you are in your process, in your evolution, and in your growth. Now, to validate something is to have something else there to compare it to look at, to see, what's the space in between that which you are comparing yourself to. Am I living up to it, or am I not living up to it? Am I exceeding it, or am I, and then from there it gives you the self evaluation to say, all right, here's what I need to do to get to this particular place and space. And so that's the value. Like, you wouldn't know what good is unless you have seen evil in the world, and vice versa. So we do. That's why we have a left hand and a right hand, or a left brain and a right brain, or right, these two things. I think that we are also kind of gotten away in this world to accepting that at the end of the day we live in a dualistic world. And the stuff in the middle, it's either yes or no, left or right, up or down, right or left. And all of that stuff in the middle is in that gray area, is where all the confusion comes into play. But when you're able to break it down to the very simplistic yes or no, right or left, then you make your choice based on those. Um it, it, it leaves it leaves the ground and the leveling in the field a lot clearer. You can see further when you have it broken down to its finite yes or no, good or bad, um ugly or beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And so I guess, so off of the heaviness, we'll move into of the comparing, because I know I definitely, that's a tool that I sometimes use to my detriment,
Yeah,
and
I have to be
it
careful.
does make me feel less than. Um, and that's also what the power of, I think, art has to do as well. And and that sometimes is the artist's plight, when you start comparing yourself to others. Um, it can impede your art, because there's like this expectation outside of yourself, you know, as opposed to a self-involved comparison. When you compare yourself to where you were a minute ago to where you are the next hour, that's a healthy comparison, because
Mm-hmm.
then you're comparing yourself and everything is within inside of you, and you can look at the incremental steps. And so when you start comparing yourself to something outside of yourself, that's when it can be very detrimental to your mental health, um, because you don't have control over what that other person was doing. You can only have control over what you're doing, and depending on what your outlook upon self is, when you look outside of yourself, it can really damage you. Uh, and so what that actually does also is that moves me on to pregunta número cuatro.
Sure.
We're just blowing through it, right? See, so that's
Well,
what I was telling you.
I have a real quick to end that last question. I have a quote. I think helps me out as an artist, specifically relating to that. It's by this guy named I think his name is Ira Glass. Ira Glass. I think he was a NPR journalist. But I'm going to read this. He says,
Yeah, please.
"Nobody tells this to people who are beginners. I wish someone told me. All of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste. But there's this gap. The first couple of years you make stuff, it's just not that good. It's trying to be good. It has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that you got into the game, is still killer. And your taste is why your work disappoints you. A lot of people never get past this phase. They quit. Most people I know who do interesting creative work went through years of this. We know our work doesn't have this special thing that we want it to have. We all go through this. And if you're just starting out, you're still in this phase, you got to know it's normal. The most important thing you can do is a lot of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week you'll finish one story. It is only by going through a volume of work that you'll close that gap. And your work will be as good as your ambitions. And I took longer to figure out how to do this than anyone I've ever met. It's going to take a while. It's normal to take a while. You just got to fight your way through. So in that sense, I think, you know, as a musician, I have this taste, say Prince, Jackson Brown, Nile Rodgers, right? And here I'm writing these songs, and it's just not, it's just bad because I'm used to this. And I think what he's saying, as you just not worry too much about this, but just keep creating, just give it time, let it grow. Eventually, you start creating stuff that you're like, this is actually pretty good. And I feel like I've gone there with my music, which is a great thing because I did go through, I've been writing songs for maybe 4 or 5 years, amassed
Mhm.
maybe 300, 400 different songs. So it's like I've starting to tap into that a little bit. But, when we were talking about comparisons, I thought that was a good quote to kind of demonstrate how you can use it in a good way because it does raise your standard of quality of your own work.
Correct. Correct. That is very correct. And yeah, aptly put, sir. Aptly put. And so, going to, like I said, question number four. Um, what are three words you should know in every language?
Um, is thank you a word? Is that one word?
Yeah, we'll count that as a word. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
we'll
They go
count that.
together. It's a compound word. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you's one of them. Um, um, hmm. I think hello, like a greeting, um, like a welcoming um, greeting of some sort, which I guess is hello, but not in a sense like a because in language there's a lot of implications in which the way words like there's multiple ways to say things. I think like a greeting in a way that's very positive.
Mhm.
And then
So hello, thank you. Hello, thank you.
And like I want to say like continue, but really the word I would be thinking of is like keep going, persevere. I think
So
that
perseverance, okay, or persevere. So you're saying that in every language, you would like to know how to say hello, thank you, and keep persevering, or and persevere.
yeah, but not in the way like in a way that gives someone like uh, a way that keeps pushing people. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a way in
So
like
it's
a
like almost like a way of encouraging,
yeah.
to give encouragement. Uh, hello, thank you, and I encourage you to keep going.
Because I could have said love, which I'm sure a lot of people say. I just that's not really resonating with me right now.
Mhm. I hear you. So keep on going and keep persevering. That's the message that's
That
being
that's
downloaded
that's
to your
that's what's
brain.
resonating.
Hey, that's what it's about, because this is what the human experience is about, because it's not about what everybody would particularly say or when they would say it. It's about what is what is, like you were mentioning, what is resonating with you at that moment, because that's really the crux of everything. It's like really to be able to be in touch with and resonate and communicate what is resonating with you at the moment. That's what people connect to, and and for you, coming from a compassionate place of saying that right now, what you compassionately want to express is keep going, keep persevering, especially in the context of you being an artist and a musician, you know
Mhm,
and that's the beauty.
mhm.
That is the beauty, sir. So, you know with that being said, uh hmm, persevere in what you're saying, in hello, thank you, and persevere. Now, you wanting to encourage somebody to continue to persevere, um what scares you?
What scares me? Uh, well, I think when you know, scares me is when you read all this stuff about, these big wigs and, these system and just what, this is when I'm in like a state of life where I'm feeling overpowered per se, like which when I'm in like a doldrum. And I usually get that when I feel like the external way that society is set up, systems are set up, 1% per se is set up, that there's just things that are out of your control and that you'll never be able to change and that you're always going to be this way because that's the way it is. When you start buying into that ideal, which a lot of people, I think a lot of society does buy into, because if some of it's real, unfortunately, is that there's these systems and things set up to basically keep people on a certain level. When you really buy into that, and I buy into that, and I feel like I have to fall in a certain way, whether that's career wise or whatever I'm doing,
Mm.
um, to live a comfortable life. That scares me because my whole life, what I've chosen to do with it is prove that that's wrong. That you can be the creator of your own destiny, and that even if you're late in life and you're figured out that's not what you want to do, that you can still change your destiny.
Hmm.
That's kind of what my life is banking on. So when I start buying, so when I buy into the pessimistic view, which a lot of people hold, which is there's the system in place can't be changed and you're basically screwed. When my mind starts being, when I buy into people who are saying that and that idea, and I kind of see myself, see like kind of believing that's really scares me.
Mm. So the scare. So you're saying that the being scared to be subjected to um, somebody else's idea of how you should live your life is what scares you.
I think it's more the I guess buying into, being such an optimist, buying into the realist and pessimist point of view, more so pessimist, where it's basically saying, for instance, my case, music is an industry that, it's really only these top people that are ever going to do it, ever going to make it, that there's really no chance for a regular person. Like, you have to be connected, or you have to have this, you have to have this. Um, So I don't know if that's other people's opinion, or if there's like buying into the fact that there's a system that can't be overthrown per se.
Mm. Okay, okay, I could rock with that. I could rock with that.
So I don't know if that makes sense, but
It definitely it does make sense. And so we have two more questions to go officially, and would love to give an opportunity for you to compassionately express your songwriting and artistry with the world as well. And so um, I guess that's a great segue into the sixth question, which is what makes you happy?
I have there's nothing better than sitting in my studio. It's just me. Do whatever rituals I got to do. Maybe drink some coffee, whatever, and just having as much time as I need with my instruments, my computer, and just being able to just create. And there's nothing better than that. You can create music. Um, that's a really beautiful thing. And then I also, of course, performing as well, but more so that idea of just having this block of time and myself and my canvas.
Mm. So this is interesting, and this is just like kind of coming to me. So your degree is in engineering, and it seems as though um, you like to engineer songs and artistry.
Mm-hmm.
So could you speak a little bit more about how you use your engineering background to or in the creative process of your music?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. So to be honest with you, I've never been a man of details. So, working in engineering, I kind of had to force myself to learn detailed, very technical things.
Hmm.
But when I get into like creating songs, I'm not going to get too big into like the frequency shifting, and like the very detailed engineering aspect. I'll hire somebody to do that. But in terms of how I see it is, I open up a program called Pro Tools or Ableton. It's these programs that basically looks like, you see mixing boards in studios. It's got all the dials and everything. It's
Hmm.
just it's a digital version of that on your computer. And with I guess my engineering mindset, I'm able to very quickly just put down drum tracks, you know, programming, how a drum kick would feel. And, this is sometimes usually listening to a song, like maybe like an Earth, Wind and Fire song, and then just copying it, being able to know how to copy and create that drum, that drum pattern. And
Hmm.
then, then plugging in my bass into the computer, then laying it down. Okay, so now I got a bass and drums, and then just hearing that, and then, okay, where's the guitar part? Just throwing that down. Very, very kind of just going with it. And then, put my keyboards, and then just picking a sound that sounds cool, trying some notes out. And before you know it, you're starting to hear where the song wants to go, and you can hear, certain things. And you're kind of really going with your heart, for example, we were talking about that earlier. It's very much a heart-based activity where you can't listen to your brain or else that'll trip you up. So you kind of just go with it. And then by the end of 4, 5, 6 hours, you have close to a full song.
Mm. Okay. So you are using some of that degree then. That money didn't go to waste.
Yeah, right, right, right.
You can
Yeah,
tell your parents that
yeah,
one.
that's
Huh? I am using that, Mom. See? See? Yeah, man. And so, um, wrapping that up, actually, even going back into that, because I think there sometimes um, we often don't see where the connection is in the path that we've been taking in life, right? And so, there's obviously a very specific reason that you chose to go to school, for this particular, to study this. There was some level of interest at that time to say, to hunker down and be like, all right, boom, I'm just going to go along with this.
yep.
And I guess the reason I was asking that question is because, from what you've just explained, is that because of that background and some of the skills and knowledge that you've gained through your matriculation through college, that helped you to apply, or you started to apply some of that with the creation of your music as well. So in a way, it was like there was some added value or purpose in you going to school for this particular, to study this particular skill or craft or trade, and you are using it, maybe not in the typical way that one would say, but you're using the engineering design process and modality in the creation of your art. So you know so it was applicable, and it wasn't nothing went to waste, you know
Hmm. Hmm.
which is sometimes a mentality and a mindset that people, also going back to that prior part of the conversation, when we go back into the comparing and stuff like that, when we can, and so you're looking at school in this specific field, and I'm not doing that, and you may be comparing yourself to other people that are your classmates, but there's able to use that to your advantage, to help feel better about what it is that you've learned, and so that nothing does go to waste in life,
Hmm. Hmm.
and being able to look for those gems and jewels, within that, helps ones to feel better about themselves and about why they went through and did what it is that they were
Hmm.
doing in the past, and as it applies to the now, in the present.
Yeah, I think also, in regard to that, oh, you look at it that way, but I also look at it another way in the sense that it gives me a lot of pride to think that, pride, but also just, I think it'll be really neat, to be able to show other people who, you know, are doing something that they don't want to do. And then to be able to share my experience where, I could say, I also was doing engineering and I flipped it around and was able to succeed in music.
Mm,
That, so just having that knowledge that, being able to show people that, whatever situation you're in, you can totally change it around. And I
mm,
feel like that being a part of my path, that's encouraging as well, as knowing that, I'm not like a regular musician. I'm not someone who dropped out of high school and just have been playing music since forever. I just started this path in my 20s. So it's like knowing that that's a part of my mission, I think that also helps me, encourages me as well, as realizing I'm not like the other musicians.
mm. That's great. That's great. And actually, this leads to the very last question, which is, um, what is your purpose, Sam?
Um, I believe my purpose is to create create music that has the ability to really, really encourage people. And specifically, what I would like to create in terms of that is when I listen to music, like I was saying this morning, that's like really soul music that really
Hmm.
can take somebody who's in a situation, touch their, really bring them up,
Hmm.
almost like not quite gospel, but in that same vein, to create stuff like that,
Mm.
and just be able to on that level, on the art level, be able to do that to people. So,
Mm. So to create music that stirs the soul.
yep. Yeah, yep. And I mean, that's obviously one of them, and like I said before, I do want my life to be an example that the human spirit has the ability to change the course of your destiny if you want to. Because I feel like a lot of people of my age, you get a job and you kind of just fall into line. Whereas, also on a bigger scale, I want to show people that, you can use your life for what you feel is your mission. You don't have to just do it because you got to pay rent. Or it's what your parents think you should do, or your friends, your family thinks you should do. So that also, along with that.
Awesome, man. And I think we'll take this moment and this opportunity, now that you have expressed that in your purpose, to actually give you a chance to express your person live and in the flesh to the individuals that are watching and listening to the human experience, so that they can hear in real time that which you were talking about.
Okay. Can just got to get my guitar and stuff. If you'd allow me to do
Not
that.
a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem. You go do that, and get on back to us.
All
I'll
right.
hold you down in the meantime. So wow, that's interesting. So the evolution of being able to speak to and create awesomeness, and being able to create from the now, I believe, is what Sam has been resonating with us, is the opportunity to use the right now in this moment to create that which it is that you want to express to the world. And within that, that's one of the most empowering things and feelings that one can have, because what makes us great as human beings is the fact that we can think, speak, and act. And when we're able to, uh, we have sound waves and these vibrations that lead us to think these thoughts, and then we transpire these thoughts into audible things that then are able to manifest and create tangible entity, is undeniably spectacular. And we as human beings have the unique opportunity to be able to do that, to go from a thought to a thing. And the distance in between that thought and that thing is the amount of work and the amount of drive and the amount of love and belief that you have in yourself and in that thought. So as you believe more within, it allows those thoughts that you want to see created and manifested in the world. As you believe and you go through that process of bringing that thought into fruition, and you keep speaking about it, and you keep speaking about how you envision it and how you want to see it, and you start, and that speaking allows you to take the action necessary to really bring it into real life, to make it a real things. And what you think about yourself is often shown in your environment through the words you speak about yourself and through the actions you take to taking care of yourself. So pay attention to your thoughts. And if you don't know what you're thinking, look at the world around you, because those are the manifestation of the thoughts that you're really thinking about yourself and the people that are in your environment. Thoughts, words, action. That's what makes you great, people. And so, Sam, uh, are you feeling you're in a place and you're in a space to creatively express yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do a song for you that's a cover, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. Yeah, I haven't done it in a while, but hopefully you'll like it.
Hey,
Can you see me?
Do your thing, homie.
Cool. Can you hear me? Does this guitar sound right?
You're all good. You're all good.
All right. Rockets and moonshots, spend it on the have-nots. Money, we make it, but before we see it, you take it. Oh, makes me wanna holler, the way they do my life. Whoa, makes me wanna holler, the way they do my life. This ain't living, this ain't living. This ain't living, no. Inflation, there's no chance to increase the finance, and bills pile up sky high. Oh, send that boy off to die. Whoa, makes me wanna holler the way they do my life. Whoa, makes me wanna holler the way they do my life. This ain't living, this ain't living, no. This ain't living, no. Hang-ups and letdowns, bad breaks and setbacks, natural of fact is, on it I can't pay my taxes. Whoa, makes me wanna holler where they do my life. Oh, makes me wanna holler, throw up both my hands. This ain't living, no. This ain't living, no. Crime is increasing. We got trigger happy policing. Panic is spreading.
Oh, yeah.
God knows where we're heading. Whoa,
Oh, no.
makes me wanna holler, throw up both my hands. Oh,
Raise
makes me
my
wanna
voice.
holler, throw up both my hands. This ain't living, this ain't living.
That, sir, is living. And that is what the human experience is all about. And thank you, Sam, for choosing to join us on the human experience and compassionately express yourself. Before you go, let the world know how they can contact you and any last parting words that you may have, sir.
I actually just set up an Instagram. It's MRY Sounds. So MRY Sounds. That's where I look. So thank you.
You're welcome, brother. Once again, human experience, and I am your host, True Him. And we would like to thank you for choosing to, number one, thank you, Sam, for choosing to compassionately express yourself once again. It is an honor, and I am very appreciative that you chose to take the time out to in this experience so that somebody You know, that perseverance, you know, in those three words, and that encouragement that you wanted to give, that is the whole idea and one of the premises behind the human experience, you know, because we never know what our words and whose words will be able to touch, move, and inspire somebody to want to be better than they were a minute ago. And that's really the importance of why it is important to express yourself in a compassionate manner, because you never know how that expression is going to help another human being move forward with whatever it is that they're dealing in life. And to those human beings, I would like to say that thank you once again for joining us on The Human Experience. Check us out every Monday from 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you will find somebody that is compassionately expressing themselves and pouring their lives into you. And you matter, you're important, and you deserve to be expressed and have people experience your expression in this world. And if nobody else wants to do it, that's what I'm here to do. Because my mission is to inspire people to be the happiest that they can possibly be. And whatever I can do to be a conduit to that is what the human experience and what I'm all about. And so thank you. Be peaceful, be happy, be productive, and most certainly be dynamic. Namyo Horenge Kyo, Namyo Horenge Kyo, Namyo Horenge Kyo.